This is the story of a boy who went from being a simple waiter to becoming the most famous person around. From zero to hero, his journey is full of love, pain, struggle, and unexpected twists. Simple English will bring you this powerful story filled with emotions and real-life lessons. And the best part? While listening to this story, you will also improve your English. You'll hear hundreds of useful sentences, new words, and natural conversations. Learning English can be boring sometimes, but not with stories like this. You'll stay curious, you'll want to know what happens next, and slowly, without even trying too hard, your English will start to improve automatically. Episode 1. In the messy storage room of a popular deli bar called Hoot Bistro, Kartik was looking at himself in a broken mirror. Just like every day, he was saying, "Just 6 more months and my time will come. Then the world will see me and they'll say he keeps his promises." But just then, his best friend Neil arrived. "Kartik, hurry up! You know we have to get to college early today. What are you doing standing in front of the mirror all this time and mumbling?" Neil said. Kartik flicked Neil on the head and said, "My time will come," picked up his bag, and left the room. "Oh man, you always make such a big deal out of nothing," he said, and Neil followed him. Kartik Mittal was one of the top students at Delhi's famous Hansraj College. He looked average and simple. He neatly combed his hair, always buttoned his shirt all the way up, and had no particular style. He went to college like this every day. After college, he worked part-time as a waiter at the Hoot Bistro bar in Delhi. They even gave him a small room to live in, which he shared with his friend Neil, who was also his classmate. It was 8 in the morning. Like every day, they both left for college on Neil's old scooter. But something felt different today. As Kartik sat on the scooter, the wind felt different than usual. He couldn't stop smiling. Lost in his thoughts, Kartik was blushing for some reason. Neil interrupted his thoughts by stopping the scooter and shaking him. "Hey man, look, a flower shop. If we're late now, you'll just keep dreaming all day." Kartik suddenly snapped out of his thoughts. "Yeah, coming," he said. He quickly looked at the shop, bought a bouquet of red roses, and came back. All the couples at college were together today. Some were making big plans, some were giving expensive gifts, and others were walking hand in hand into college. There was a happy feeling everywhere. Holding the bouquet, Kartik was nervously waiting for Neil, who was parking the scooter. Neil came, twirling his keys on his finger and making a face. "Think again before you propose. You're just an average-looking waiter, and she's that beautiful and famous Mr. Shastri's only daughter. Your horoscopes don't even match." Kartik looked at him and replied, "Come on, Neil. You're my friend, not my enemy. Don't you remember how long she kept smiling at me last time? Trust me, I know she likes me." Saying this, he headed towards the auditorium where the Valentine's Day party was being held for the whole college. As Kartik entered the auditorium, his eyes immediately went to the girl he liked and was going to propose to. Today, she was wearing a red off-shoulder dress that went down to her knees and had a very expensive floral clip in her hair. She looked beautiful every day, but today the red dress made her fair skin glow even more. Seeing her in front of him, Kartik's mouth dropped open in surprise. He couldn't stop staring at her. In the background, the DJ was playing a romantic song. She was making reels with her friends on her iPhone. She flipped her hair and said stylishly, 4.5 million followers. Shannon will be so happy today. If she just says yes to this bouquet, I'll keep her so happy, Kartik thought to himself. Just then, Shannon's eyes fell on him. Seeing this, Kartik waved and gestured for her to come to him. Seeing his gesture, Shannon tilted her head and said to her friends, "Oh my God, why is that guy staring at me?" A girl standing nearby said, "What an ugly guy!" Shannon made a face, and another girl said to her, "Wait, I'll go talk to him." Shannon looked away and said, "You remember, right? You guys are from the hotshot gang. We don't talk to just anyone, not standard." The second girl nudged Shannon and said, "Hey, look! He has a bouquet of red roses in his hand. Looks like he's going to propose to you today. Look at the poor guy. Everyone else is in a suit, but he's still wearing his usual shirt, that old-fashioned yellow one with a black tie." The girl next to her said, "He looks like a taxi driver." Shannon laughed and rolled her eyes. Kartik's throat was now dry with fear as he waited and kept looking at Shannon. Just then, another girl with Shannon said, "Look, he's calling you. If you don't go, he'll stalk you and say to you in his bad English, 'Hey, babes, I will keep you like a doll.'" Hearing this, all the girls started laughing. Meanwhile, Shannon thought for a moment, gave a sly smile, picked up her drink, and started walking towards Kartik. As Shannon got closer, his heart started beating faster. As soon as Shannon was near him, the strong smell of roses and jasmine perfume made Kartik feel dizzy. Seeing her in front of him, Kartik's mind went completely blank. Suddenly, Shannon snapped her fingers in front of his face and said, "Tell me, why did you call me?" Coming back to his senses from her snap, Kartik said shyly, "If you keep looking at me like this, I won't be able to say anything." Shannon raised her eyebrows and shrugged, saying, "What?" Kartik looked at Shannon, gathered his courage, and in one breath knelt down and said, "I love you," and held out the bouquet to her. As soon as he said this, the expression on Shannon's face changed. She angrily gestured to the DJ to stop the music immediately, and despite the thousands of students in the large auditorium, there was complete silence. After a few seconds, Shannon looked at the bouquet in Kartik's hand and said, "Say that again. What did you say?" Kartik glanced lightly at everyone standing there, looked at Shannon again, cleared his throat, and said, "I love you. I love you like crazy. If you don't believe me, try me." Hearing this, Shannon gave him a sarcastic smile and shrugged, saying, "Nobody here heard what you said. Say it again." "I love you. I love you, Shannon. I love you so much." In his excitement, his voice became quite loud again. He thought that maybe Shannon didn't believe him, so he decided to express his love in front of everyone. Just then, Shannon took the bouquet from his hand with a big smile. Seeing this, a smile appeared on Kartik's face. He felt a sense of relief for a moment. He was about to get up to thank her when Shannon threw the bunch of flowers in his face. Kartik couldn't understand what just happened. He was stunned. The expression on his face changed in an instant. Shannon said loudly, "How dare you propose to me? Just because I came to you thinking you were a simple guy, you thought I was some cheap vegetable that would say yes to your pathetic proposal." Every word she said pierced Kartik's heart like an arrow. He couldn't say anything. He just stood there, his head bowed, looking at the ground. Shannon looked at all the students and said loudly, "Guys, look closely at him. He came to propose to me with this red rose bouquet." Hearing her words, all the students there started bullying Kartik. He couldn't believe that Shannon could do this to him. He thought that maybe Shannon would reject him, but he never expected her to humiliate him and his feelings like this. He started to leave, hiding his eyes from all the students. Kartik was walking in the college corridor when suddenly a group of boys blocked his way and surrounded him. One of the girls from the group looked at him and mocked, "Hey, Battery, even you're feeling the fever of Valentine's Day? Have you even looked at your face in the mirror? Just then, Neil arrived and walked straight into the circle to stand beside Kartik. Another girl looked at Neil and said sarcastically, "Look, double battery is here to support single battery. Both are useless." Kartik didn't care much when people insulted him, but hearing someone speak badly about Neil made him furious. He gave them an angry look, ready to respond, but before he could say anything, Neil grabbed his hand and pulled him away from the crowd. They sat down quietly on a garden bench. Kartik's heart was broken. After a few minutes of silence, Neil tried to comfort him and said, "I told you before, Shannon is not the right girl for you." Kartik wiped his tears and said in a choked voice, "You're right. I'm not good enough for her. She's beautiful. And me? I'm just a waiter." Hearing this, Neil stood up and shouted, "What? That witch looks beautiful to you? Her face has more filters than Instagram. She's fake. Shannon Shastri is like those cheap chips packets with a big discount. Look good on the outside but full of disappointment inside. So what if you're a waiter? Don't forget that behind your simple face you have a genius brain. Everything in life doesn't depend on looks." Neil folded his hands and pleaded, "Bro, come back to your senses. Forget her. Celebrate Valentine's Day with me instead." Kartik didn't say a word. Seeing his silence, Neil got serious again and said, "Hey, Devdas, are you even listening to me? Forget the girl and focus on your studies. If guys like us don't become successful and earn money, we'll stay single forever. We have to work extra hard to earn respect." Kartik slowly got up and started walking toward the main gate. Seeing him leave, Neil shouted, "Hey, last heir of Majnu, where are you going?" Kartik took a deep breath and said, "To the place where I work hard to earn 2 meals a day." Neil smacked his own forehead and said, "Oh man, I completely forgot. The bar owner asked us to come early today." They both rushed toward the bar, trying to avoid being seen. They headed toward the changing room but were stopped by the owner, who looked furious. The owner yelled, "Is this the time to come? I told you to be early today. There were no classes in college either." Neil quickly lied. "Sorry, sir. Our scooter broke down. That's why we're late." The owner glared at them and said, "You're here to work, not just say sorry. A college group is coming soon. Their party is on the 2nd floor. Don't mess anything up." Kartik, feeling dull, quietly walked to the changing room. Soon, loud music started on the 2nd floor. Kartik, unaware that it was his college group, picked up a notepad and pen and started taking orders. As he walked around in his waiter uniform, some boys noticed him and started teasing him again, but Kartik ignored them and focused on his work. As he was writing orders, he noticed Shannon sitting on Rahul's lap in the corner, kissing him. Rahul Saxena was their college senior, handsome, rich, and arrogant. Seeing this scene made Kartik's heart ache. Rahul and Shannon saw him too. Shannon made a face and whispered something to Rahul, likely telling him everything that had happened earlier. Rahul laughed loudly and mocked, "So you're a waiter now? Look at your dreams, so big, but your reality is Big Bazaar level." Kartik felt angry, but he knew one wrong move could cost him his job, and he desperately needed it. Rahul continued to provoke him by wrapping his arm around Shannon and saying, "Girls like Shannon don't go for losers like you. They need heroes like me. Know your worth. You'll never get a girl like her. Now stop staring and go get the most expensive whiskey from the bar." Kartik, though he didn't want to, nodded and walked away. When he reached the kitchen cabinet, the owner stopped him and said, "Hey, someone left a letter for you. Check it later. First, finish your work." Kartik opened the cabinet, thinking, "Who would write me a letter?" He grabbed the letter and a bottle of scotch and quietly went to his tiny room to read it. Upstairs, everyone was still partying. Shannon kissed Rahul and said, "See? Every loser thinks he can get your baby." Rahul smirked. "I'll show that waiter his place. He dared to propose to my girl." Just then, Kartik returned with the expensive bottle. Rahul sneered and said, "Bet you've never even seen such an expensive scotch. Consider it a tip. Drink the whole bottle in one go." Kartik calmly placed the bottle on the glass table and replied, "I don't drink." Shannon mocked him. "Oh, poor baby doesn't drink." Rahul laughed and said, "Maybe he only drinks rainwater. Right, little bug?" Suddenly, Kartik took off his glasses and gently placed them on the table. Then, in one swift move, he grabbed Rahul's collar and punched him hard in the face. Rahul flew across the floor and landed in a corner. The entire room fell silent. Everyone stood in shock, stunned by Kartik's unexpected anger. But Kartik wasn't done. He walked over to Rahul and landed a few more punches on his face. Grinding his teeth, he shouted, "Listen carefully. Once you know about my past, your future will be in my hands. Don't ever try this again." Even Neil had never seen Kartik like this before. The whole crowd stared at him in disbelief. The girls were impressed. Rahul, scared and on the verge of tears, couldn't say a word. Just then, the owner came rushing in, shouting angrily, "Kartik, come downstairs right now!" Neil held his head and muttered, "We're done for now." What happened? What was in that letter that changed Kartik in just a moment? To find out, stay tuned. The owner yelled again, and Kartik let go of Rahul's collar and stood silently. Rahul, still shaken, complained to the owner, "I've been coming to your bar for years, spending thousands every time. But today, your cheap waiter hit me. I won't tolerate this. I'll call the police. Everyone will land in jail." Hearing that, Rahul furiously pulled out his phone from his pocket. But the moment the owner heard the word police, he panicked and pleaded with folded hands, "Sir, I know a huge mistake has happened, but I request you, please don't involve the police. Please forgive him. He will apologize to you right now." Rahul looked at Kartik with a crooked smile, clearly enjoying the power he held. Neil stepped forward and said to the owner, "Sir, Kartik hasn't done anything wrong. It was Rahul who lost his temper and spilled an entire tray of sketch materials over him. That's when the argument started." The owner turned sharply and shouted, "You shut up! Are you his lawyer that you're defending his misbehavior?" Then he looked at Kartik and barked, "Apologize to him immediately or I'll fire you on the spot." Hearing this, Shannon gave Rahul a sarcastic smile. It was clear they were both enjoying the situation. Kartik took a deep breath and replied, "I won't apologize. I've done nothing wrong." The owner screamed louder, "Then fine, you're fired." Neil became nervous, but Kartik, without a trace of regret, calmly said, "With pleasure. I quit." He loosened the knot of his tie, gave Rahul and Shannon a fearless smile, and walked out. Everyone watched him, stunned. Even the owner stood silently. No one could understand where this poor boy had gained so much confidence. Kartik picked up his bag and started walking on the empty street. Neil soon caught up with him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Wherever Kartik goes, Neil follows," he said gently. Kartik smiled softly, then turned a little sad. "You shouldn't have quit your job." Neil shrugged. "Forget that. Just tell me what's next." Kartik walked to a bench on the roadside, sat down and took out his phone. He inserted an old SIM card that had been inactive for 6 years. As he stared at the phone, Neil asked, "I'm asking what we're going to do next, and you're busy looking at your phone." As soon as the sim activated, a flood of old messages arrived. Kartik opened one of them and froze. It read, "Kartik, wherever you are, return to Mittal Palace immediately. Your rights are being restored." The message was sent 7 days ago. Kartik stared at it in shock. He thought the time hadn't come yet. He wasn't supposed to get his rights back so soon. For a moment, he even forgot Neil was sitting beside him. Noticing Kartik mumbling to himself, Neil frowned and said, "Kartik, are you having one of your fits again? We don't even have food to eat and you're—" But Kartik's face reflected a different level of confidence. Suddenly, he hailed a taxi and got in. Startled and confused, Neil jumped in after him. "Dude, at least tell me where we're going." Kartik finally turned and smiled. "Just keep watching. Our time has come." He leaned back, closed his eyes, and relaxed into the seat. Behind his closed eyes, an old memory began to play like a faded photograph. Kartik is not the real heir of the Mittal family. No matter what anyone says, he must hide his identity for 7 years. Only if he succeeds will he receive his rightful place. A stern voice had said this years ago. "But how can you send my child away like this?" a woman had cried. "What's his fault that he's not born into this family? I brought him here, and you already knew everything. Why didn't you stop it earlier? Now you're sending me away too." "It's final," the same voice had replied. "If Kartik is to be worthy of this palace, he must prove it. We won't let this legacy fall because of one child. Generations have built this name. He must earn it." "You can't do this! Someone stop them! Don't take him away!" Kartik's mother had cried. Kartik was lost in these memories when the taxi stopped in front of a grand palace. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He got out, paid the driver, and stood before the luxurious estate. The grand gate read, "Mittal Palace," carved in white marble. Neil looked around excitedly. "Oh, now I get it. We're here to work at this palace. Nice, very nice." Inside, a large fountain sparkled with colorful lights. The garden surrounding it was massive, and at night, the whole place looked magical. Kartik stopped walking. Neil nudged him with his elbow and joked, "Don't tell me we came here by mistake. I've already decided I want to work here." Just then, the watchman came running, pulled out a key from his pocket and handed it to Kartik. "Welcome back, Prince." Kartik gave him a small smile. Neil quickly corrected, "His name is Kartik, not Prince." But neither the watchman nor Kartik acknowledged the correction. Kartik simply walked inside. The palace's living room was massive and elegant, with a huge chandelier and luxurious white sofas. Neil's jaw dropped as he stepped in. An older man appeared, around 55 or 60 years old, dressed in a tailored three-piece suit, holding a classy cane. His white French-cut beard added to his distinguished look. As soon as he saw Kartik, his eyes lit up with joy. "Welcome back, Prince." Kartik studied his face, trying to recall who he was. "I'm your family lawyer, Harshal Chauhan. Your father's closest friend, remember? We met when you were just 8. Kartik paused, thought for a moment, then broke into a big smile and hugged him. Chauhan Uncle's eyes welled up with emotion. Kartik asked, "But, Uncle, the condition isn't supposed to end for another 6 months. Then why did I get the message?" Chauhan Uncle gently wiped his tears and said, "Yes, young master. The court has returned your rights early, because you are now the sole heir to the entire Mittal estate." Neil's mouth dropped again. "What the—" First prince, now heir? Kartik looked at him and then turned to Chauhan uncle. I don't understand. Chauhan uncle looked down and said softly, a few months ago, your father passed away in a car accident. According to the conditions in his will, this information was to be kept from you until the 7-year term ended. But now, with no one else left, the court has decided to transfer everything to you. The moment Kartik heard the news of his father's death, he closed his eyes. Memories came flooding back. He remembered that painful day, the day his mother died of a heart attack. She couldn't bear the weight of his absence, nor the silence his father had left behind. That was the last time Kartik had seen this palace from the other side of the gate. He never stepped inside, not even for the funeral. After learning about his father's harsh will, he'd made a decision. He swore he'd never return. But then, his mother's death changed something inside him. He remembered her last words, her final wish. She wanted him to return, not as a servant, not as a guest, but as the rightful heir of this house. So he came back. Chauhan uncle looked at him and said gently, I know your father never treated you like his own. I know he left you behind. And even after all that, here you are, mourning his death. That's enough, Kartik. That alone would have made your mother proud. I always believed you would come back to claim what is rightfully yours. Kartik didn't respond. He simply took a long, deep breath and swallowed his grief. Because he knew there was no point in blaming the dead, he opened his eyes slowly and asked, Uncle, what do I have to do next? Uncle replied, You'll need to visit Citibank. Meet Mr. Khanna, the bank manager. He'll hand over your property papers, and within 48 hours, everything will be transferred to your name. Later that evening, Kartik and Neil decided to stay the night and rest. Using the old key Walkman had given him, Kartik opened his room, a room he hadn't stepped into for many years. Neil followed, looking around in surprise. Wait a second. Why are we in a kid's room? He asked. I mean, I know you own the place now, but is this really the time to play house? Then his eyes fell on the silk bed sheets, the antique furniture, and the chilly breeze from the air conditioner. Kartik smiled softly. This was my childhood room. But before he could say more, he turned to see Neil already passed out on the bed, still wearing his shoes. The next morning at 9 sharp, both of them were ready and waiting downstairs. I'm off to the bank, Kartik said. Best of luck, Uncle replied, placing a hand on his head like a blessing. As soon as they stepped outside the palace, Neil jumped on Kartik's back and laughed. Bro! The world still sees you as a simple waiter. And here you are, the heir of a palace. What a twist, man, Kartik chuckled. All right, enough now. Soon they reached Syndicate Bank. The receptionist greeted them. How can I help you, sir? She asked. I need to meet Mr. Khanna, Kartik replied. She typed something quickly into her system. May I know why you want to meet him? Kartik replied calmly. To transfer the Mittal property under my name. Her expression changed instantly. With a blank face, she asked, Are you joking with me? Kartik shook his head. Please don't waste my time, it's urgent. But she stood up in anger and snapped, Leave this place right now. Do you even know what you're talking about? Are you playing some kind of prank? Just then, the phone on her desk rang. She picked it up. On the other end, Mr. Khanna's voice came through. In a few minutes, Mr. Kartik Mittal will arrive. He's been sent by Mr. Chauhan. Let me know the moment he reaches. She put the phone down slowly. What's your name? she asked Kartik. Kartik Mittal, he said. She gasped. Her entire expression shifted. Did Mr. Chauhan send you? Kartik nodded. Suddenly her tone turned sweet. Her fake smile appeared like magic. Welcome, sir. Please come with me. She led him to the manager's office and gently pushed the door open. Mr. Kartik Mittal is here, sir. Mr. Khanna stood up at once. Idiot! Didn't I tell you to inform me the moment he arrived? I would have welcomed him personally. Then, turning to Kartik, he said, Sir, please, come in. Sit down. Shefali, the receptionist, stood silently, eyes lowered in shame. Why are you still standing here like a statue? Go get some special tea, right now. The manager barked. As she left, she quietly whispered to Kartik, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't recognize you. Kartik didn't say a word. He just walked over to the chair and sat down. Neil, sitting beside him, gave Kartik a playful look and thought, wow, God really has his own way of blessing people. Just then, Mr. Khanna said, There are just a few formalities, sir. Sure, Kartik replied. Khanna made a quick call. Send someone to get a retina and fingerprint scan from Mr. Mittal. He turned to Kartik with an apologetic smile. I'm so sorry you have to go through this, but it's bank protocol. Shefali re-entered with a tray of tea, but her hands were shaking. The fear on her face was clear. She worried Kartik might complain and get her fired. Kartik saw her trembling and smiled slightly, but as she placed the tray on the table, she slipped. The teacup fell, spilling hot tea all over Kartik's shoulder. He jumped from his seat in shock. Mr. Khanna exploded in anger. Can't you do a single thing right? You idiot! Do you even know what you've done? Shefali's eyes welled up with tears. The hot tea had burned Kartik's shoulder, but before he could react, a team entered the cabin to take his retina and fingerprint scan. The manager barked again. Get out of here now! Once the procedure was complete, Mr. Khanna looked at Kartik and said respectfully, In 3 hours, everything will be transferred to your name. Kartik stood up. Thank you, he said quietly and walked out. Shefali was waiting outside the cabin. Sir, I'm really sorry, she said. You had to face all that because of me. But Kartik said nothing. He simply walked away with Neil. As they stepped outside, a sleek BMW pulled up. The window rolled down. And sitting inside, grinning like a villain in a bad movie, was Rahul. He looked Kartik up and down with mocking eyes. A waiter. Standing outside a bank? What a bad day for you. Lost your job? And your girl. He burst out laughing. Last night you were acting like such a hero at the bar. If you're really a man, then come face me. Tonight. 9 p.m. at the bistro. Beat me in my game. And Shannon will propose to you in front of everyone. With a kiss. Kartik stared at him. What's the challenge? He asked calmly. Rahul sneered. You'll find out there. And if you don't show up, I'll know you're just a loser. Kartik folded his arms. I am what I am not. And I am definitely not what you think I am. See you at 9. Rahul smirked and sped off, leaving behind a trail of dust. Neil coughed and said, Dude, why don't you just tell that idiot the truth? But Kartik just ran his fingers through his hair and smiled. He'll get his answer. In my way. Neil looked confused. Kartik placed a hand on his shoulder and waved down a taxi. As soon as the taxi came to a halt, Kartik and Neil stepped out. The city outside buzzed with life, but inside their minds, it was quiet, heavy with thoughts. A short while later, they arrived at the grand Mittel Palace. The massive gates opened slowly, revealing the splendor of the place. It wasn't just a home, it was history carved in stone. As they entered the living room, Kartik noticed Mr. Chauhan already seated with a few people. These were senior employees, dressed in expensive suits, talking in low tones, exuding corporate confidence. The moment Mr. Chauhan saw Kartik, he stood up from his seat, surprising the others. "Welcome, Kartik," he said warmly. The employees, though slightly confused, followed suit and rose to greet him. Their eyes scanned Kartik and Neil from top to bottom. Simple clothes, tired faces, no signs of royalty or riches. For a moment, disbelief flickered in their expressions. Could this be Kartik Mittal, their new boss? Sensing the awkwardness, Mr. Chauhan immediately took charge of the room. "These gentlemen have come from the head office," he explained. "They need your signature on a few important documents." Then, turning to Kartik and Neil, he said gently, "You both must be exhausted. If you wish, I'll have these documents sent to your room. You can rest first." Kartik glanced at the documents for a second, then nodded silently and left the room with Neil. The grand staircase led them to the upper corridors, walls lined with portraits of the Mittel family. They passed a large family tree photo, a proud display of heritage. But something caught Kartik's eye. In the bottom corner of the frame, there was an empty spot, a blank space where a picture should have been. He stopped in his tracks, his gaze fixed on that void. Neil, noticing this, placed a hand on Kartik's shoulder. "What happened, bro? Why'd you stop?" And then Neil saw it too. Kartik's photo was missing. Not a word came from Kartik's mouth. Instead, he simply turned and walked silently toward his new bedroom. Neil stood there for a moment. Then, as if remembering something, he pulled out his wallet. Inside it was a small, worn-out photo, one he always carried. It was a picture of him and Kartik from their old life, smiling, carefree, unaware of destiny's plans. He gently tore the photo in half, removing his part, and with a childlike innocence, stuck Kartik's half into the empty space on the family tree wall. Now it felt right. He looked at it, nodded with a grin, and whispered, "Perfect. Now this feels like a real family photo." Neil joined Kartik in his room. It was majestic, like a king's private chamber. A massive bed with velvet cushions, sleek curtains in the latest design, imported furniture, the kind of room they had only seen in movies. Neil jumped onto the bed with both arms wide open. "Wow, this is something else," he said, bouncing lightly. "You know, bro, I never imagined guys like us could ever live in such luxury. It's like life just did 1-2-4 on us." Kartik laughed, a soft, honest laugh. "This is just the beginning," he said. "There's still a long way to go." But Neil couldn't help himself. "You know, we were like blood brothers. And you never told me the truth. Not in all these years." Kartik grew serious. His eyes stared ahead, and his voice dropped. "I didn't have a choice, Neil. It was a rule, an actual condition. My dad, well, I was adopted. And the only way he would ever accept me as his son was if I stayed away from the family name for a few years, built my own life, and returned only when I had something to show, like a degree, some achievements. He wanted to see if I was worthy." Neil didn't interrupt. He just listened, eyebrows raised. Kartik continued, his voice trembling a bit. "After my mother passed away, I didn't care about anything. But her love, It kept pulling me back. I had to do this. I had to return to this house, not just as a guest, but as someone who belongs here. That became my only goal. He let out a deep breath. That's why I never told anyone. Not even you. Neil blinked slowly, absorbing the truth. Then he shrugged with a smirk. Rich people and their big rules, huh? But forget all that. Have you thought what will happen when Shannon finds out the truth? Kartik's face didn't react. No smile, no worry, just calm stillness. Neil tried to read his friend's thoughts, but got nothing. Kartik walked over to the large window and opened it wide. The city of Delhi sparkled below. Lights, noise, and dreams. Taking the hint, Neil left for a shower. After a while, he returned, fresh, drying his hair with a towel. Listen, bro, he said casually. I'm not staying here. Kartik looked puzzled. What do you mean? Neil pointed to the massive bathroom behind him. Bro, your bathroom is bigger than the entire ground floor of the bar we worked at, and it's filled with mirrors. Like, seriously, who needs that many mirrors? You drop a soap in there and it becomes a treasure hunt. Kartik chuckled. By now, it was 7 p.m., and they were heading out. As their car passed the palace gates, Kartik spotted a silhouette of a woman standing by the road. Wait, he said to the driver. Take the car back. The car reversed slowly. It was her, Shefali, the receptionist from the bank. Kartik stepped out of the car, visibly surprised. What are you doing here? She held out a folder. I came to deliver these documents. All the legal formalities are complete. You're now the official owner of this entire estate. Congratulations. Kartik took the papers and glanced at her. You could have sent someone else. Why come yourself? They were confidential, she replied softly. I had to hand them over personally. Kartik stared at her, head to toe. You're not just here for the papers, are you? What do you want to say? She looked nervous, like a school kid caught cheating. I just wanted to say, I hope you'll keep your money with Citibank. I didn't mean to misjudge you that day. I'm really sorry. There was a real innocence in her eyes, and the regret in her voice was genuine. Kartik paused, then said, I'll forgive you on one condition. She looked at him confused. I'm going to a party tonight. Would you like to join me? Only if you want to. No pressure. She hesitated, then slowly nodded. But I'm in my office clothes. Kartik smiled. Don't worry about that. He gestured for her to get in the car. Moments later, all three were on the road. Shefali, seated near the window, stared outside in silence. Kartik gave the driver a new instruction, and the car stopped in front of a massive clothing showroom. Shefali's eyes widened. Why are we here? Kartik stepped out. Come on, you're getting a new dress. She panicked a little. I can't shop here. These are luxury brands. But he didn't respond, just smiled. Inside, he turned to her and said, Pick whatever you like. Before she could protest, an assistant appeared and gently guided her to the second floor. Time passed. Shefali returned quietly. Her eyes were shy, and she stood near Kartik without saying a word. Something was changing, and it had just begun. Kartik was sitting comfortably on a large sofa, flipping through a magazine. The room was calm until he heard the sound of approaching footsteps. He looked up, and there she was, Shefali. She walked in wearing a stunning black backless short dress. For a moment, time stood still. Kartik blinked. He had never seen her like this before. She looked beautiful, more than beautiful, ethereal. Kartik smiled softly and complimented her. "You're looking amazing." A small smile appeared on her lips, and without saying a word, she walked past him. They soon left the place together. Kartik used his card to make the payment for something he had planned in advance. They stepped out, and his car, a sleek luxury safari, was waiting. Inside, Neil was already sitting with the driver, waiting for their return. The clock was about to strike 9. Across town, in a posh place called Bistro, Rahul sat with his gang, laughing, drinking, and enjoying the night. Among them was Shannon, his girlfriend, the girl Kartik once secretly admired. One of the girls checked her watch and giggled. "Yar, Kartik must be trembling with fear by now." Rahul smirked and said, "He won't dare show up. Probably out there begging someone for help, or crying somewhere in a corner." Everyone burst out laughing. They were mocking someone who wasn't even present. But just then, a voice echoed behind them, confident and sharp. "Were you waiting for me?" All heads turned. Kartik was standing there. But this wasn't the Kartik they knew. Gone was the simple, modest boy. In his place stood a sharp, confident man wearing a tailored, branded outfit that screamed class and confidence. And beside him stood Shefali, elegant, radiant, unshaken. The room fell silent. Rahul raised an eyebrow. "Wow," he said sarcastically. "I heard expensive clothes can be rented, but now I've seen it too." He leaned in, inspecting Kartik's coat, squinting at the brand label. Then his eyes dropped to Shefali's toned legs. His expression changed. Envy twisted into arrogance. With a mocking smile, Rahul stepped close, tilted his head, and said, "So, do you rent your girls too? Or did you beg someone for this one?" Laughter exploded again, but this time Neil clenched his fists. He had heard enough. "What the hell are you saying?" Neil snapped. Rahul shrugged, looking amused. "Oh, come on, Neil. You still playing lawyer for losers?" Just then, the bar owner walked over. "Kartik, what are you doing here?" Without breaking eye contact with Rahul, Kartik said calmly, "I'm here to order your most expensive scotch." The owner looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "What? Are you crazy? You think I'm serving that to someone like you?" Kartik turned to Neil, who silently pulled out a premium card and handed it to the owner. "Here's the payment." The owner looked stunned. Something had changed. Kartik was no longer the boy people laughed at. He was someone who could make them uncomfortable with just his presence. Kartik turned to Rahul. "You challenged me once, tried to make me drink. Today I'm the one offering. But of course, after losing, you won't even deserve that." Rahul lunged forward, trying to grab Kartik's collar. But Kartik didn't flinch, not even an inch. His calm stare made Rahul back off in frustration. Shannon stepped between them, pretending to cool things down, but her eyes, they were fixed on Shefali, unable to hide her jealousy. Shefali, the girl next to Kartik. Then Shannon, smirking, said, "Guys, looks like there's going to be a competition, a car race, Kartik versus Rahul. Are you ready?"